Hi, Derived Energy here, and today I will be making a video about this man, Michael Joseph Jackson, born August 29th, 1958. The singer who made the Thriller album, which remains, as of today, the biggest selling album of all time. Album estimates vary, but it's estimated that he shifted more than 50 or 60 million copies of that particular album. A true musical genius, an inspiration to many singers and performers, a great dancer, a guy who could fill Wembley Stadium 7 times like that, a phenomenal talent. And Gary, Mr. Inmendham, made a rather derogatory video about the late and great Michael Jackson a couple of years ago, called I Wacko Smacko for Jacko or something like that. So this is a video response to that video, and in this video I will attempt to offer a defence of Michael Jackson. Okay, so you started the video off, Gary, by posing the rhetorical question, would you leave your children with him? And you said, well, he didn't bang women or men, but he did die a father, so I think it's quite safe to say that he did bang a woman, unless you belong to the camp who argue that those weren't his natural biological children. I think we should take it for read that they are. I mean, you can see the similarity in the facial expressions, in the eyes in particular. So I think he is the natural biological father. You said that he grabbed his crotch. I mean, he didn't just grab his crotch, he did it in a very stylised manner. He did like this, like this, like this, configuration of hand movements like that, It's kind of artistic. He was a dancer, he was a performer, he was trying to be innovative, he was innovative, and when he listened to music, he danced in the music, he converted the music into bodily movements, in a incredibly artistic manner, So, I mean, when you see female pop singers dance, they're very provocative, they're all shaking their hips and all that, but you don't say that they have unacceptable desires towards children. And he said he hangs out with kids, which he did a lot, he built Neverland, and he built a zoo. He had a zoo built there, an amusement park, and he invited thousands upon thousands of children to come and take advantage of the entertainment facilities that he built, and I think this is a sign of somebody who wanted to see the delight in children's faces, He loved watching children being happy and enjoying themselves and being carefree, and I think this is indicative of a charitable disposition he had, and I don't think there was anything evil or sinister or malicious or he had no intention to exploit children in a sexual manner. I mean, okay. I know a lot about Michael Jackson because I read. I've got all his music, but this isn't very relevant to the conversation. But I might as well lay my cards on the table. I've got all these. This is just a small sample of my Michael Jackson collection. You probably don't know any of these albums. You've probably heard of ABC, but I've read his autobiography, Moonwalk rather. I've read biographies, you know, every newspaper article that had something in about Michael Jackson I'd read. You know, I saw him perform live in Wembley Stadium, so I know a lot about Michael Jackson, and I think I'm in a better position to make judgments about his character than you are, with all due respect. And yes, he did manipulate the media, in that he leaked in stories to the media that would gain attention to him, because you must understand, when you're a recording studio artist, when you're a singer, when you're an entertainer, the more publicity you get, like the more well known you are as a performer, you know, and you can improve your record sales doing that. So, you know, he leaked the story. He deliberately, you know, went into the oxygen chamber and made sure that a photo was taken of him, because he knew full well that you know, that would be on the front page of the newspapers the next day. And yeah, he tried to buy the Elephant Man's bones, and it was all contrived. He was just trying to gain publicity for his music, you know, which is a bit cynical of him, you know, but he was driven to be a star. He was driven to sell as many albums as he could. You know, this certainly doesn't make him a paedophile. You say that his Peter Pan syndrome is not a valid excuse for what he did, but I'd argue that there's no evidence that he ever molested any children. I mean, there was a long drawn out court case, and the verdict was he was innocent, you know, and he subjected himself to medical examinations, you know, very, very intrusive medical examinations. They scoured his property, you know. I mean, it was done very thoroughly. I mean, you just seem to think that, well, he's famous, everyone knows him. No, there's no one who hasn't heard of him, so therefore he must be guilty, because either the jury is stupid because they've never heard of him, or they're compulsive liars and they will just lie just so they can get on the court case and pass an innocent verdict. But you know, this is just wild conjecture, speculation by somebody such as yourself. But again, with all due respect, I don't think you've really tried to empathise with his situation. It's like going back to the Peter Pan syndrome. His childhood was stolen from him. You know, he couldn't play baseball or go to the sweet shop, the candy shop. He couldn't celebrate his birthdays because he was always either in a recording studio or he was being rehearsed by his father in like a kind of militant manner, you know. So I think you've got to cut the guy some slack there. I mean, the effect that could have on an innocent, vulnerable mind, you know, to be subjected to a kind of peculiar childhood, and that's going to have an incredible impact upon his psyche and his ability to relate to other people, you know, and his subsequent lifestyle and the way he led his life, I think, will run directly back to the traumatic kind of experiences he had as a child. And you know, you just wave off like the vitiligo, but that is a diagnosed medical condition that affects the pigmentation of your skin. And you can see when he was out in hot weather, he'd like carry an umbrella around. I mean, he didn't do that because he was particularly fond of umbrellas. He did it because he had to protect his skin from the sun, because the sun would just like tear his skin it would just burn his skin. He had no protection, you know. So his appearance, I mean, so you got vitiligo, and it makes your skin turn white. He turned to vegetarianism as a young adult. So, and he was a very physically exertive dancer. He used to train and dance in a dance studio for just hours and hours. So he is going to lose a lot of weight. So that's going to affect like your appearance. You know, if you lose a lot of weight. I mean, his nose completely. Yeah, he disintegrated his nose. He just had nose job after nose job after nose job, and he had a chin cleft. You know, and it's all very sad, but it's obvious to me that he suffered from body dysmorphic disorder. And you know, when he was a kid, with the Jackson 5, his father just used to call him Big Nose, Big Nose, Big. You know, and hearing that from your own father, you know, it's going to have an impact on you. You know, and unfortunately, his way of dealing with that hurt was to self-inflict, you know, all those surgeries that he had. And I feel that the plastic surgeons let him down, because they should have taken him aside and said, "Now come on, Michael, you've had enough nose jobs. What you're doing here is just, it's not healthy." But that's the problem. He was just surrounded by sycophants and yes men, you know, and people just didn't take on board that by just saying yes to him all the time. They were just prolonging the dysfunctionality of his body dysmorphic disorder and his Peter Pan syndrome disorder. And it's all very sad, you know. I think we should try to understand, you know, his background and what he went through, you know. And would I leave my children with him if I had children? Which obviously the thought of having children makes me feel ill, because I understand the nature of the human condition more accurately than the average person, I think it's safe to say. But if I did have a child, I wouldn't encourage him or her to hang out with Michael Jackson, but not because I think that Michael Jackson would try to sexually molest them, but because I think it sets an unhealthy precedent for leaving your children with men that you don't know on a personal level, and it kind of, yeah, it sets an unhealthy precedent. But in terms of any doubts that he would try to molest a child, I mean, I think it's laughable. It's like you seem to have a personal vendetta against the man. You say that the Elvis Presley, he married Elvis Presley's daughter, and you say that was a sham. I can't really express a view about that, because I don't understand the circumstances, but it could well have been a sham, but you know, we can only guess there what his motivations might have been for taking part in what is very suspiciously perhaps a sham marriage. But you talk about Macaulay Culkin, the actor in the Home Alone series, and you're like, oh, he just played. Do you honestly think he just played video games with Michael Jackson? No, I don't think he just played video games. I mean, they had water pistol fights, and they climbed trees, and they played on they went on the rides at Neverland, you know, and they had fun. You know, I think it was innocent. It's just I just think you talk about knee-jerk reactions, but I think you're just making knee-jerk reactions because you haven't tried to understand his background or the situations that he was in throughout his whole entire life, and how that formed his character and his perception of reality. And yeah, I just think your video was a little bit heavy-handed, so I think I'll end the video there.